In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and Chinese-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser and this week I'm back with Joe.
Hello.
Hurrah!
It's great to be back.
It's great to be back. Last week I interviewed Ben Settle and that was very exciting.
Oh, that's pretty
for
cool.
me, anyway. It was pretty cool. And we talked about all kinds of things last week, but we talked a little bit about patience. And I wanted to come back to that because it's really important and there seems to be very little of it in our world.
Okay.
So,
Patience.
Patience.
Not like the sick kind who go to the doctor.
No, patience with a C.
Okay.
So, yes. I feel a bit all over the place today because we've had it's been a bit of a difficult time in the Dingle house, hasn't it, the last couple of weeks?
Last few weeks have been a little bit stressy with the Dingle.
It's been a bit difficult because we lost Nanny Egg and Amelia Eggheart to a fox about 2 weeks ago.
Which is very upsetting.
It was very upsetting. I was quite surprised at how upset I was, actually.
Well, they kind of buckle around the garden and they say hello to you and they follow you around and they're sociable things. They're nice. They were lovely.
I miss Amelia's stumpy little toe. And I miss being chased up the garden by Nanny Egg. And so we were left with Granny Featherwax, and you can't have a chicken on its own. It's not fair.
You can't have one chicken.
So we went and got 2 more chickens from the place where we got the original 3 from, and we got a Bluebell and a Cheshire Blue, and they're very lovely. And
Betty and Mrs. Pickles, to give them their full names.
Betty and Mrs. Pickles, and they are amazing. And then the next day after that, we had the most amazing day, and we went to... Actually, it's a beautiful place. Where did we go? Somewhere in Wales.
It was somewhere Welsh.
Yeah.
Welsh Wales.
Monmouth, just about. And we went to adopt 2 ex-battery chickens. Yep. And that was horrific, actually, because they were all been taken there from the battery farm, and they were being parcelled out to people like us.
Yes, they'd been rescued or bought, or I'm not quite sure how it works,
rescued,
by the Hen Welfare Trust.
Yeah.
So these chickens were all destined for some grisly end.
Yeah.
And we went to a beautiful farm where there were just hundreds of chickens in stables.
Yeah.
In stalls. And people and lots of nice chicken keepers just turning up in convoy to pick them up and take them away and give them a good home, which is very nice. Nice to see.
It was awesome. And so we came home with one actually surprisingly nice looking chicken. So she looked in pretty good condition. She was a bit pale and pasty and Shirley Bassey.
Mm-hmm.
And also a chicken that was half naked from the waist down and looks really sorry, floppy comb, really pasty and pale and really wobbly and just looked a state. And we called her Nugget because she kind of resembles a nugget.
Pretty much a chicken nugget with wings.
Yeah. And she's awesome, actually. She's so funny and she's made best friends with Mrs. Pickles.
And she really perked up. Like 24 hours later, she was like, "Oh, I'm all right." And then,
yeah. And she's noticeably smarter than the other chickens as well.
She's a clever chicken.
And really curious. And it's just, she's just awesome. And then today I had to take her to the vet because she's
suddenly got a problem.
Huddled and miserable and hunched. And yesterday she was fine running around.
Chasing flies, having a great time in the sunshine. And
today she's just been... Anyway, so I took her to the vet and we think it might be egg peritonitis, which is likely to kill her, to be honest. But we've got antibiotics. And so
she's damn well going to take them.
She's damn well going to take them, and we're really hoping that she's going to pull through, because I really wanted her to have longer than a week.
Yeah.
In, having a happy life. So anyway, I'm going to cry if we carry on talking about that, because she's just awesome. So that's what we've been doing. It's been a bit of a difficult couple of weeks. So, and it's required patience, which is my neat segue.
That was a hell of a segue.
Yeah, well, it has required patience, though, because introducing a bunch of different chickens to each other definitely requires patience.
Chickens are not the friendliest of creatures when they meet chickens.
No, anyway, that's a tale for another day. But yeah, so patience.
Patience.
yeah, and I just kind of so well that's my segue, and I can't really do it any more neatly than that.
Okay.
So I just wanted to kind of riff a little bit on good things come to those who wait, because that's partly true.
Riff a little bit.
Riff a little bit. Yeah. Did I?
You really?
Did I? Well,
Is that legitimate?
Ramble about.
Okay.
Rap about.
No. Well, go for it. Go.
So, good things come to those who wait.
Not rapping.
I'm not rapping. It's kind of true and kind of bullshit. Because on the one hand, patience is a good thing, and patience is a good thing. That's that. I'll talk more about that in a minute.
Short podcast.
Yeah, that's it.
We like patience.
We're done. But on the other hand, good things come to those who work hard for them. And I think you need to remember that side of it as well. So, yeah, it's all very well to kind of say good things come to those who wait, but if you just sit there and wait, then fuck all's going to happen, frankly.
Yes. It's very rare for somebody to wander into your world and to deliver all
Whatever
you've
you
ever
want.
dreamed of into your lap.
Yeah. But a surprising number of business owners seem to run their businesses exactly like that, waiting for the next customer to turn up, waiting for the next big thing to happen,
Patience is good though, right?
It's on its own, no. you need other things too. But this week we're talking about patience. We're always talking about the other things.
Okay.
This week we're talking about patience. And how the modern world is awesome. Modern life is brilliant. I love it. We are far better off now than we were 50 years ago, like measurably in every way.
Yes.
But it's troublesome as well, because it's made us really, really impatient. So can you imagine asking a kid today to go to the library to look something up in a book? It's unthinkable, because they'll think you're mental. And oh my god, you know what else made me laugh? So do you remember, and people of a certain age who are nerdy will totally get what we're talking about, but do you remember the days of playing computer games, and you would put a tape, and for the kids a tape is a plastic thing with actual like plastic tape in it,
like a ribbon in it.
You would put a tape into a tape player, you would type the command code into your computer, into your Commodore 64 or whatever, and then you would press play usually, wouldn't you? Run.
Yeah, you press play on the tape recorder.
Press play on the tape recorder. And then it would spend 10 minutes kind of bopping and fizzing and
making screechy noises.
And then after probably 10-15 minutes of that, the whole thing would crash and you'd have to start again.
But you'd adjust the volume a little bit, wouldn't you? You'd adjust the volume a little bit, you'd adjust the tone a little bit.
Yeah.
And you'd start again.
Yeah.
So basically your mate would come round to your house after school.
Yeah.
You'd spend a couple of hours listening to screechy noises, waiting for this game to work. It wouldn't. And then they'd go home for tea.
Yeah. And, that didn't happen all the time, because that was the exciting thing about it. It was like sometimes you would get to play the game and sometimes you would just swear. Well, in as many swear words as you had when you were like 12, which wasn't as many as I have today. But yeah, that's the way it works. And it's like, can you imagine kids today being faced with that? It's like instant, you chuck the game in the Xbox, turn the Xbox on, bam, there it is.
I think we had a work experience kid, and I had to explain the concept of rewinding a video, I think, for some reason. I can't remember what it was. We were just chatting about something, and he had no idea what the hell I was talking about. He was like, rewinding? What? And I was like, you had to spool it all the way back to the beginning.
Oh, with a pencil?
Well, no, it was just in the machine or whatever to get back to the start of the film.
Oh, yeah, and it would always be really annoying when somebody in the family had watched something and then hadn't
just
rewound
left
it.
Because
you just want to put the film in, and then it's and it would take 5 minutes to rewind an entire film as well. We're not talking, fast. You can't just go back to the beginning. It's. I wonder how many people are listening who are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Probably not that many.
Not that many.
My target market is our age, really.
Mostly grown-ups.
But yeah, I'm feeling nostalgic now for games like Fire Ant and Treasure Island, and
yeah.
Sparky's
good stuff.
Sparky's Dilemma,
Jetpack, and
even Super Mario Brothers, but that was a bit more instant. But with the cartridges.
I remember the first cartridge we had was on a Super Nintendo or something. No, it wasn't. It was a Sega something like the Sega Mega Drive.
I think I've got a Sega Mega Drive with Sonic the Hedgehog knocking around somewhere.
Oh my god!
I know. I bought it and I was like, this is going to be really bad. And then anyway. So
we've got patience.
We have patience. We learned patience.
We had to have it.
And, people still have patience. I'm not saying that nobody has patience, but our world is not built to train us to be patient. It's everything is instant. It's like, when your internet's really slow and the rage that ensues, it's people get ragey because we are used to having everything now. And it's, so it's turned us all into fucking toddlers, frankly.
They're going to have to sort out the whole voting process at some point soon, aren't they? Because that whole actually walking to the town hall or to the local primary school to put crosses in boxes with pencils for people to count, it's just mental.
I wonder how much more turnout we would get, actually, in all seriousness, if you could do it online.
Well,
and there's no real reason that you can't do it online. It's just that people are like...
It'll only happen at the point where the people in power think that it's to their advantage to have all the 18-year-olds voting.
Ooh, that's cynical, but probably true. Anyway, so yes, that's kind of the modern world is training us all out of patience. And there's an art historian lecturer at Harvard University called Jennifer Roberts. I found this the other day when I was just randomly. And she teaches, obviously, art history. And her first class is always for her students to choose a work of art, any work of art, preferably a vaguely local one. Go to wherever that work of art is and look at it for 3 hours, 3 full hours, just sit there and look at it. And
okay.
That's
quite difficult.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I feel twitchy just thinking about it, because it's like, I mean, I'm pretty good at, I was going to say I'm pretty good at sitting and doing nothing in your about.
Absolutely bollocks.
You should see the look on Joe's face. I'm tempted to take a picture and post it up with this. In fact, I'm going to take a picture.
You're totally not capable of sitting for any length of time and doing nothing.
I am terrible. I struggle to sit and read a book for any length of time because I don't know, I've got ADHD or something. I'm probably going to offend all sorts of people who actually have ADHD now. I'm appropriating their whatever. Anyway, but the point is, she asks her students to go, this is the first thing she asks them to go and do, 3 hours staring at a piece of art, which is fairly horrifying to most people, unless they're well-versed in meditation and, grew up with tape decks. But it's like most of us would kind of swipe downwards on the painting to to get the updates on it.
Next. Yeah, that's a nice one. Next.
Yeah. But most people listening to this will feel a little bit twitchy about sitting for 3 hours and looking at one thing.
I reckon there's quite a large proportion of people who aren't you, who would actually think, 3 hours sitting and thinking? I quite like that idea.
But don't get me wrong, because I do a lot of thinking, but I do my thinking while I'm out running, or while I'm pole dancing, or while I'm...
I think you should do this. I think you should go and find a piece of art and look at it for 3 hours.
I'm actually going to, because the reason that she does this is that it's a painfully long time. It's like a painfully long time. And I always need to know that the thing that I'm doing is the most valuable thing that I could be doing, which is I need to learn to meditate and chill out a little bit more, because it's important to do this. But the reason she wants people to do it is because she wants her students to experience that twitchiness and tolerate it and get through it. Because once they can do that, it enables them to see things in the art that they wouldn't otherwise spot, because we just look at the surface of everything. We skim the surface of everything. And we don't see any deeper. And this is really, really, really important in life and in business. And it's I want to make a good point about this, because it kind of relates as well to, do you remember when we went to see the Pixies and all of those people filming the concert on their phones? And it's like, but you're never going to watch this video again. And they're not experiencing the moment and the experience. It's not, I took a couple of pictures, but I would not ever stand there and film it. And for me, that's related to this impatience, is kind of having everything instantly. And I think it's like people want to be like, I'm here and I need to put it up there, instead of experiencing it.
Instead of just enjoying the damn thing.
Yeah. And, updating Facebook instead of being in the moment. And so I think it's actually really, really important to learn to sit and see that what's a little bit deeper. And this is important for empathy as well, I think, because when you only take things at face value, and this is where it relates to business and your ideal customer and stuff, but when you only take something at face value, like somebody snapping at you, you assume that it's, you make an assumption as to why they've snapped at you. And, it must be something that I've done. Maybe they're not a very nice person, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, actually, taking a moment to think about what's happened in their lives and to say, actually, you all right, is really, really valuable, because you'll sometimes find out that they've got something going on. They just needed someone to say, are you okay? And sometimes that's all they need. And it's, there's a lot going on under the surface that you miss if you just don't have the patience to kind of step back from whatever has happened and upset you and say, why did that happen? It's just kind of the patience to reflect on stuff.
The idea that you don't have to have an answer, a response, a conclusion right this very second.
Sometimes it's enough just to listen.
be for a second. I reckon we should test the listeners and see how long they can just be patient.
You think we should be silent for like...
I think you broke it.
Oh, I'm not going to do that because they'll all bugger off. Nobody wants to listen to silence. Anyway, so yeah, patience is really good in life for that reason, because I think patience is empathy.
And for all you people who are listening to this podcast at 1 1/4 speed or 1.5 times speed, stop it.
Well, no, because that can be a useful thing to do.
You're impatient.
I am. Well, you see, you say that, but I used to say that I was impatient. I'd be like, oh, I'm so impatient, ha ha ha, really funny, almost wearing it like a badge of honour. But actually, I don't think I am, because when you think of what I do, like not just in my business, but outside my business, that's 11, 12 years of pole dancing that has got me to the level that I am at the moment, which is pretty bloody good. And that's a long, long time to put effort into getting better at something. And if that's not patience, I don't know what is.
Well, I don't know. Is that patience because there's a destination, or is that because you enjoy the process?
Well, there is a bit of both. I think you've got to, but you have to learn to enjoy the process. So when I first started pole, it was very frustrating seeing what other people could do. And it would have been very easy to go, oh, you know what, fuck this, I'm not very good at it, and go and do something else. So, I mean, learning a new skill, any kind of a new skill, requires patience.
Yeah.
I mean, you're being patient with your jiu-jitsu.
No, I'm just enjoying the process.
Because there's still patience there, though, because if, you know, your enjoyment of the process has overridden your impatience to be better, which is patience. It teaches you patience. I'm totally right about this, and you're totally wrong.
I don't know. I think patience is for when you have a destination in mind.
Vegetables. My vegetable garden.
Right, okay.
What I'm growing.
Swerve.
I really enjoy, and also I'm like really impatient about the whole, you know, every morning one of the first things I do is with my cup of tea, I'll go up, I'll go say hello to the chickens, I'll go up to my vegetable garden. The reason I'm laughing is because Joe was trying desperately not to yawn then and gurning at me really badly. So I'll go up to my vegetable garden and I'll be like, how much are my vegetables grown? And it's not an instant thing. It's not like you can just chuck seeds in the ground and then there are plants. You have to wait for them. They do things in their own good time.
I think I've got a point with the whole, if you enjoy the process, then you don't need patience.
I think you can basically stick your point up your bum.
Go and get your own podcast, Joe.
Yeah, go get your own podcast. No, I actually genuinely feel that I'm right about this and that you are not right. I don't want to necessarily say wrong, but I think learning a new skill requires patience. Yes. It does. So anyway, there you go. We'll agree that I'm right and carry on. Okay, so the marshmallow experiment. Do you remember the marshmallow experiment?
Is this one where they put a marshmallow in front of a small child?
Yes.
And say, if you don't eat the marshmallow by the time I come back, I'll give you 3 marshmallows or some such.
Yes.
And then you go away and you leave the child alone for 3 or 4 minutes.
10 minutes, I think. 10 minutes. 15 minutes, something.
It's harsh. And then it's a really good indicator of success, isn't it?
It is a really good indicator.
In later, not just in marshmallows, but in future
in later life. Yeah,
future success and future life.
And it was a fascinating study because they did this, and apparently it was hilarious because they filmed the kids, and you saw children just like literally sitting on their hands and kind of, you know, getting as close as they could to the marshmallow and sniffing it and then licking it, and it was just like apparently the videos are hilarious to watch. But what they found was that obviously a proportion of children, most of the children, I think,
just eat the marshmallow,
but a proportion of the children didn't. And they delayed that gratification. But the really interesting part comes later on when they followed these kids to school, to high school, and then into work. And the kids who delayed the gratification and took the second marshmallow did measurably, like, a lot better in their exams, in their social relationships, in their personal relationships, in their work. Like, So
how old were these children?
I think they were, like, 4 or 5 years old. They were very small children.
And they'd already learned enough self-control to be indicative of the rest of their life?
Well, no, but that's the thing. It's not... It's basically, yeah. It's an indicator. I mean, you can learn self-control. You can learn this stuff.
Well, let's hope so. Otherwise, people listening to this podcast are either screwed or not screwed.
Well, this is... there's no such thing as a set-in-stone person, and this is how you are. You can always change who you are. And anyone who says otherwise is wrong. They are wrong. You are wrong if you think that. But yeah, but the kids who delayed gratification also, tellingly, were children who were often let down by the adults in their lives. So the ones who couldn't wait for the second marshmallow.
Oh, hang on. The ones who delayed gratification.
Sorry, no, the ones who couldn't delay gratification.
The
ones who couldn't wait tended to be children who had been let down. So quite often it was like a parent would say, oh yeah, we're going to go and do this weekend, and then it never happened. And so they had no reason to ever expect that second marshmallow would ever turn up.
Oh, that's harsh.
It is harsh, but it's really interesting because there was obviously a lot of socio-economic stuff going on there, and you begin to, when you look at things that way, and this is what I'm talking about, patience to look deeper into things, you begin to understand why people from lower social backgrounds do worse, because they don't learn to delay gratification because they have no reason to expect that any adult will ever keep their word, which is incredibly sad.
You're implying quite a strong correlation between not keeping your word and a poor socio-economic background.
I am implying a strong correlation because that tends to be that. I mean, it's not like 100%, and it's not necessarily cause and effect, but it tended to be that children who were from more difficult backgrounds
had less reason to believe
that what was promised to them would come.
That's
not always to do with lower socio-economic status, but it tends to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you could be rich as fuck and just lie to your children all the time.
Yeah, and there are rich as fuck people who do that, and there are poor people who are amazing parents. So but there's definitely a bell curve there, and so that's really, really interesting, and that's another reason.
I guess that's kind of stability, isn't it?
Yeah, stability.
Because if your life is well under control, and you know that this weekend you're not going to have to work, and I'm not going to have to work, and the car is going to function because we look after it.
Yeah.
Then when you say we go to the park on Saturday. We go to the park on Saturday. Yeah. But it's not that people with less money are weasels. It's that their cars break down more often, or that they get called into, they can't say no to overtime, or... Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in no way at all saying that, that there are bad people and good people in this at all. It's just, that's just the way it is. And when you start to look at the reasons behind things like that, you start to understand why things are the way they are. And it's like, well, like you say, if you haven't got a comfortable regular income, then your plans are likely to change at the last minute. And the person who suffers, unfortunately, is usually the kids. And it's like, it's not even an obvious suffering, because you wouldn't think that would be massively damaging.
Yeah, it's like, we can't go to the park. We'll do it next week, or we'll do...
And they start to realise that actually it's never going to happen. Yeah. And it's not because the parent doesn't give a shit, it's because the life is chaotic. Because
the parent can't predict the future, never mind the child.
Yeah, so, and when you start to look at things that way, you can start to look at, well, how can we fix this? And, it starts to get really, really interesting, but it just requires the patience to look deeper into it instead of looking at Daily Mail fucking headlines and going, poor scumbags treat their children like crap. It's like, that's not the case at all. It's not the case. You have to look deeper than that. So that's another kind of lesson that you learn from patience. Anyway, but there's an interesting kind of addendum to this, in that there is that marshmallow experiment has been kind of updated by a chap called Ernesto Rubin, and
that's a good name.
He's a management professor, I believe, but he's done that with adults. So he gave adults a choice. I think they're probably students, because it's always bloody students. And by the way, there's a lot of confirmation bias in that, because the type of person who will volunteer for this type of experiment there's bias built into it, and they tend to be students. Anyway, but he's done an experiment, and he gave his experimentees subjects choice between a check today or a larger check in 2 weeks' time.
For those of us under the age of 25, a check is a piece of paper where you write a promise on for money.
Yeah.
Give it to someone.
Okay, let's say that, they were...
Do you know what your checkbook is?
I don't have one. So let's say they could have £50 today or £100 in 2 weeks' time. And more than 2/3 of them chose to have the £50 today.
Right.
Rather than wait the 2 weeks for double the money. But the really interesting part of that is that of those 2/3 who wanted the smaller amount of money now, more than half of them waited more than 2 weeks to cash the check. That's why it was important. It was a check and not cash.
Yeah.
So
they could have just waited the 2 weeks and had the more money.
Exactly, and that's the really fascinating part, because on the face of it, you think, this is completely fucked up. Why on earth would that happen? Are these people stupid? And it's like, the answer is no, they're not stupid. I don't know, maybe some of them are. But the point is, it's instant reward and gratification. The very act of taking that check was it released endorphins in their
nice.
brain. Happy. It was a nice feeling. Yeah. So it wasn't so much having the cash, having the money. It was the feeling of, woohoo. But that in itself illustrates the people who were able to wait and delay that gratification earned more money. That's a really simple correlation, but it's worth looking at because it's just like, if you are willing to wait, you will make more money. And that is a correlation that shows in business and in life. And, it's been kind of looked at, and I don't want to say proven because that's a strong word, but, there's a very strong correlation between waiting for stuff.
Patience and reward.
Between being able to wait for stuff and getting the bigger reward, whatever that reward is. And it's like, we're talking about cash here because it's easy to talk about, but it's like a marriage is worth working at. You can look at it that way. Social relationships, if you've got a friend who you think the friendship is worth working on but it's too much trouble, then that's a valuable thing that you can think about. Is it worth being patient and work fixing this, or is it just stuff it? Disposable friendships. So it's really, really, really important, patience is, in life and in business and in everything, really. I think it's worth thinking a bit deeper about things. But in business particularly, because obviously that is what we are here to talk about, and marketing, we only see, and if you do any kind of work online, you'll be very familiar with this. We only ever see the really loudmouth, impatient people who are like, you got to do this now, you got to grab this, the time is now, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, you know what? The time to start anything is always now because,
Unless you started 20 years ago, in which case, well done.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's like there's that phrase, isn't there? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The second best time is now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the best, I would have loved to have started pole and circus stuff when I was like 15, but I didn't. So, the best time to get on with it. Instead of thinking, it's too late. So no, it's not too late. Start now. This is why, do you still want to be, this time next year, do you want to be looking back at what you've done and wish you were a year further on? Because fucking start now and you'll be a year further on.
Yeah.
But within all that, all you see is people go, grab this, go for that, and blah, 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 and you've got to be hustling all the time and do this, do that. You never ever see anyone talking or anyone shouting about the patient stuff, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, because that's equally as important. Yeah, you've got to seize your opportunities. Yes, you've got to start now. But then once you've started and once you've taken that opportunity, you really have to be patient because it's not all starting, you have to finish stuff as well. And that's what takes the patience.
And it requires the patience to plan properly. It takes the patience to think about it properly. It takes the patience to, give your marketing enough time to run for it to be actually useful results. There's all kinds of applications, but you can't just go, right now, do bosh, and expect something to magically happen tomorrow morning. Yeah,
that's a really good point, actually, because so many of the marketing gubbins that I see, internet marketers teaching people stuff, the gurus and whatnot, they promise instant riches right now, and half the time that's not true at all, and it just won't happen. And the other half the time it's like, well, it's fleeting, because they might sell a load of product immediately off the back of their kind of semi-scammy nonsense, but what you don't hear about is their massive refund rate because their product's crap, or because they haven't built the relationship with their list. Because this is the thing, you can, if I wanted to, I could go off and sell, 1,000 £1,000 products really, really fast if I was willing to kind of buy into the immediate,
that would be £1 million.
Marketing tactics. Yeah, but how much of that would
do that?
No, well, maybe. I don't know. Well, no, if I was willing to,
sacrifice your name and your reputation and all of your good relationships and everything else.
Exactly. And I'm not saying people don't. There are people out there who are genuine and they have built a big enough audience and a big enough following that they do that all the time. That £1 million launches are not a rare thing. But of those people who do that, the number of them who have genuinely built relationships with their followers is quite small. And I think when you start, if you could start digging into the numbers, I think you'd find the refund rate was massive. So, okay, it's fine to do $1 million product launch, but if you've got to refund $500,000 or $750,000, it's, they'll still claim it as $1 million product launch.
Of course it will.
But they won't tell you about the refund rate. It's like, I would rather sell
or
less.
the damage, or the reputational damage, or
the
people who lose the fingers using the shoddy piece of crap that they're selling.
Yeah. And, I am absolutely not saying that everybody does this, but there is a proportion of people who just go for the quick wins. And in the long term, that's bad, because I would much rather have a slow burn with people who stay loyal to me for years and years rather than have a steady stream of people coming in and buying something from me once and then either disappearing or refunding or being pissed off.
Yeah.
That's not the way I want to do business. If you want to do business that way, that's up to you. I think you should stop listening to my podcast because that's not what I'm about. So yeah, we don't hear very often about the quiet stuff going on in the background, the hard work going on in the background that builds all this stuff. And I think that's really important because it's not sexy. It doesn't immediately grab your attention. And, you know, you got to be like the river carving a canyon.
Yeah. All right.
I was doing that faux profound stuff we were talking about the other day. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. Patience.
Learn and test patience. Your children with marshmallows.
Yeah, test your children with marshmallows, and if they
have no impulse control, beat it into them.
No, don't, Joe. Do not ever beat your children. I can't believe you.
Okay, don't. Metaphorically beat them. You allowed to do that? No, that's probably still abuse, isn't it?
Well, I think we can teach children without violence, Joe.
Okay, keep your promises to your children.
Yeah. But more than, do that. But also, for yourself, teach yourself patience. Teach, because you can learn it. So even if it involves, okay, I'm going to sit and meditate for 1 minute today. Tomorrow make it 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 5 minutes. You can build this stuff up. It's like I was telling somebody, or talking to somebody in my pole class earlier, and she was like, oh, I want to be able to do this. And at the moment she's kind of down here, but she wanted to be like right up here. And I said, well, just go for an inch and an inch and an inch. And, you don't have to do the jump in a massive jump. It's increments. And that again is patience. So
small steps.
Baby steps are incredibly powerful. Anyway, that's about that. So yeah,
that's about half an hour.
Yeah, work on your patience, people. Pick a news, learn a new skill, learn a language, learn a musical instrument, because that will teach you patience.
Do it slowly and
Build
think about
willpower. It's willpower. Patience is willpower, and willpower is a muscle, and you have to work on it. So next week, we are probably going to be talking, probably as my caveat, we're probably going to be talking about the importance of follow-up and the long game, because it follows on really nicely from patience.
Okay.
In the meantime, though, join the inner circle, because I will help you to grow your business. It's not fast. There is stuff that you can do fast, and you'll see results quickly if you do as I suggest that you do.
But it is not a get-rich-quick scheme.
But it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. What I want for you is to change the way you do business so it's less stressful, more effective, and brings in more money. And that takes time. You can't change this stuff overnight, because it's about putting systems in place. It's about getting to know people. It's about building relationships. People generally start seeing results in 3 or 4 months, but there is stuff you can do right away. Mm-hmm. I don't want people who are just going to hop in and hop out and then give up immediately. I want people who are in it for, learning new principles and strategies and are willing to put the time in. Like Jill, who is frankly freaking awesome.
Hi, Jill.
All of my superheroes are awesome, actually.
What did Jill do?
Oh, she's just trebled her income in 3 months.
That's pretty cool.
I know, right? So yeah, I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to do that, but Jill did. And I can show you what she did. So anyway, www.businessforsuperheroes.com/inner circle. We'll see you same time next week. Be good. If you can't be good, be careful. Thanks very much, Joe.
No worries. See ya.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues. Tell your friends. Send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.